Let's do this. We're gonna fill out March Madness second chance bracket. I don't know why, but we're gonna do it. I want an excuse, I guess, to talk about the games more in depth because I kind of did more of a kind of like a on Monday. I did a review of the games that happened, so I'm gonna do a preview of the games that are going on, and we're gonna pick who's gonna be the national championship champion of now. Will I still have the same opinion? We're gonna see. So I'm gonna go. Let's see. I'm just gonna see if I can share my screen in real time without any pauses. Dude, how impressive would that be? Share the screen. All right, we're doing it. We're here. We're here. We're doing this. So here it is. ESPN second chance bracket. Let's go do this. Because why not, man? We're gonna make a freaking second chance bracket and see who can do the best. All right, who can do the best? Let's see how good I can do. So Alabama, San Diego State, man. This is a really good game. Why did I press the preview? I don't know why I did. Alabama, San Diego State, two of the best defensive teams in the nation. I think San Diego State is fifth in KenPom and defense efficiency, and Alabama's third. So, two amazing defensive teams. This game may be slower, but of course, Alabama likes to shoot a lot of threes and get out in transition. And San Diego State's a slower team, but they have Trammell, who's a good guard. Matt Bradley can do really anything he wants on the court there. Mensa's a great rim protector. Kobe Johnson's a good player. Keyshawn Johnson is a good player. San Diego State's super deep. They run around 9-man rotation, and Alabama can, compete with their depth, right? They got a lot of great forwards, and Javon Quinterly guard has just been amazing for for Alabama, and that's what's really turned Alabama a different page. Alabama's my title prediction before the bracket came out, and there's no reason why I'm not going to have them winning this game because of the fact that how good they've played throughout the year and what they've done so far in the first games. They had a game where Brandon Miller scored 0 points and they dominant win. And then they came out and beat Maryland pretty easily. Brandon Miller had a good game there, and I just think they're going to be too much for San Diego State. San Diego State's played Furman and Charleston, so this is their first real competition tournament. I think they can keep it close, but ultimately, Bama's going to win this. Creighton Princeton. This is a very interesting matchup, of course. The first ever time a 15 has played a 6 seed. And Princeton has a chance to win this. They shoot the three really well. They've proven that they can beat good teams. I mean, Arizona and Missouri, two good teams, but this is going to be the toughest defensive team they faced all year. And Ryan Kalkbrenner is going to be tough for them to handle inside. Creighton has the guard play to do it. And the 15 made the Elite Eight last year, man. I want to pick Princeton, but at the end of the day, I'm going to pick Creighton to get the job done and advance to the Elite Eight where they'll play Alabama. Princeton has a great run in them, but at the end of the day, I think Cranes is going to be too much for him. Ryan Nemhard had that 30-point game. Baylor Scheinman's a really good player. Trey Alexander has good games in there. Kalumu is good, but at the end of the day, give me Creighton. Let's move down to this East region. Played on Thursday. FAU Tennessee. I've had a lot of people pick Tennessee, and I've seen a few people pick FAU. FAU has, taken down Memphis, and they beat Fairleigh Dickinson in their first game. And John L. Davis has been the star through his first two games, really closed out the FDU game, taking over down the stretch, and he's been really good in this one. FAU is another deep team, runs around a 9-10 rotation that they can take out a full team, put a new one in, and they play at the same level, which is just a real advantage. It's the same thing San Diego State does. And Tennessee's defense, man, is ranked number 1 in KenPom. They're probably the most physical team in the tournament remaining, and they'll get under your skin. They're going to make tough plays on the defensive end. And on the offensive end, they've had enough so far in these first games. They scored 56 points against Louisiana. It got the job done. They score around 65 against Duke. So I think FAU has a great chance to beat them if they can hit their threes, which they haven't been shooting too efficiently so far in the tournament. But I think Tennessee is going to be a real tough match for FAU. It's going to be the toughest match FAU's faced all year. So give me Tennessee to advance to the Elite Eight. Kansas State, Michigan State might be my most anticipated matchup. Jerome Tang in his first year going against an experienced guy like Tom Izzo is just a great coaching matchup. Two guards from New York City and Marquise Noel and Tyson Walker. Of course, the story of Keontae Johnson's a big one. Michigan State's came back from so much adversity, what they've faced this year on the court and off the court. Malik Hall's a guy who can do it all. We saw Matty Cisco just have a really good game. Joey Hauser can shoot the three. Michigan State didn't shoot a lot of threes, but they make him an efficient clip. Kansas State's a team that likes to run, of course, with Marquise, Keontae, and then their bigs, they're serviceable with Naquan Tomlin, David Nagusin, Masood, and others. Kansas State has the surrounding guys, and I love that vibe they're getting in the locker room right now. Michigan State's going to be a tough team. Tom Izzo, I believe, has won his last 4 Sweet 16 games in MSG, where they've played already this year. That will help them. And I want to say Michigan State's win this game, but Kansas State was a team that I had going to the Elite Eight in my original bracket, and I would pick them to get there again. I know I'm going a little chalky, but at the end of the day, Kansas State, I just think, is the better team compared to Michigan State, and they've been the whole year, so there's no reason that I think Michigan State can get them in this one. Houston, Miami. I had this perfect Midwest Sweet 16 right. Houston has not looked amazing, but we saw in that second half, even without Sasser or Shed, they can go on runs, and the freshman guard's been playing way better. Marcus Sasser, is going to get more time to get back to 100%, and Jamal Shea can have time just to get more healthy. J.R. Walker is a star freshman, and Kelvin Sampson is trying to get back to another Elite Eight for the 3rd straight year. Miami, on the other hand, is trying to get there for a 2nd straight year. Jim Larinaga done an amazing job at Miami, the only ACC team remaining. Isaiah Wong, we already know how good he is. Nigel Pack's been amazing, but the real underrated player on this team is Jordan Miller, one of the most underrated players in the country. He can do it all. He's a wing. He can play forward. He pretty much plays a 4 on this team, but he stretches the floor. Miami plays that 4 out 1 in, and of course they got big Norchad Omier, 17 rebounds against Indiana. I mean, if you go look at him, this dude's one of the biggest, buffest players in the nation. He's going to be going against Jarris Walker, who's also one of the biggest, buffest players left. And that's going to be a very interesting matchup. I think Miami has the potential to get this win. But in the end of the day, I think Houston's too deep, and they want to get to Houston. Houston wants to get to Houston, and Kellen Sampson is going to make his 3rd straight Elite Eight appearance. Texas Xavier is maybe my most anticipated matchup. This is a Friday game, Friday night, last one on Friday, last game of the Sweet 16. In Texas, man, they've been looking like one of the best teams in the country, and they've done it with a group of guys. Of course, we had the Dylan DeSue breakout game against Penn State. He had 28 points, looked really good out there. I think he made 14 shots. It was the most ever in Texas history in the NCAA tournament. But they also have a guy like Marcus Carr, Timmy Allen, and Serge Rice. I mean, comes off the bench and is one of their leading scorers night in and night out. He's that good. Tyrese Hunter has been good, and they also have a lot of depth out there. Dylan Mitchell, Brock Cunningham, Kristen Bishop, guys like that. Xavier doesn't have as much depth. They've lost Zach Freemale, and so far they looked good without him. Kunkel's a great shooter. Sule Boom is so good. Jack Nungy's a great big. But I think the lack of depth for Xavier, and they almost lost to Kennesaw State. They probably should have, and then they played Pitt. I just don't think they have been battle tested enough. And I think Texas more depth. Xavier could get in the foul trouble, and that would really hurt them. And I see a 1 versus 2 in the Sweet Six and the Elite Eight. And it's a Texas matchup to try to get to Texas for the Final Four national championship. Arkansas, UConn is a really, really tough one. These are teams where I thought it was going to be UConn versus Kansas, and Arkansas got the job done and upset them. And Arkansas, has not needed Nick Smith that much. Devo Davis had it may be his best game of his career. I think he had 27 points in the his span of the 32 matchup. Jordan Walsh had a really good game. Maybe this is the Anthony Black breakout game. We'll see. I mean, of course, he's just such a good point guard type guy. Ricky Council's always been consistent throughout the year, but UConn, I think, just has a different gear that they can get to, which is Adama Sanogo dominating, Jordan Hawkins making shots, Tristan Newton playmaking, Andre Jackson running the floor, clinging off the bench being really good, Cal Qatar making threes. I think we saw what UConn was at the beginning of the year, and I think they're getting back up to that spot. And Dan Hurley is trying to make his first Elite Eight ever. I think he's in his first 316 ever, and Muss has been there before, right? He took off his shirt in that round 32 game, and everyone loved that, and it was a great moment. And I think that it's not going to be an easy matchup for UConn. Arkansas is hot. They had high expectations coming into the year, and they've gotten to a point where they haven't exactly met them, but they're in the Sweet 16. And no matter what, the seeding doesn't matter anymore, right? It's one team versus another, and when you get to the Sweet 16, it doesn't matter. You just got to keep winning games because you've already won 2 at this point, so you can win 2 more to get to the Final Four. But I think UConn's too much for Arkansas. They can get to that another level, and this is a team that could make the national championship game. And guess what? The last time, I think almost every time UConn makes a Sweet 16, they go win the last national championship. At least that's happened the last 2 times. And UConn's trying to get back to where they've been. Gonzaga versus UCLA is probably the best game, right? 2 teams that have faced each other before in the tournament. Most recently, in the Final Four in 2021 bubble, Jalen Suggs hits the half-court shot to win it, to send Gonzaga to the national championship when they end up losing. That was when UCLA went from first to Final Four. And this is going to be a tough matchup. Of course, no Jalen Clark for UCLA. And right now that they haven't skipped a beat, they've lost 1 game since he's left, and it was in the Pac-12 championship game. And they've looked dominant in their first 2 games. Tiger Campbell, Jaime Jaquez has been in this spot before, and so is a lot of Gonzaga players, right? Drew Timme, Julian Strother's been in the national championship game. Rasir Bolton, Nolan Hickman, guys like that have been in the Sweet 16, played big games before, and this is when last year they lost to Arkansas. And this year is just a tough matchup. It will be 17 years since the day when they play that UCLA upset and beat Adam Morrison, and Gonzaga ending his career. And can they end Drew Timme's career is the main question. He needs 20 points to become the player with the most 20-point games in the NCAA tournament's history. And I think he's going to get this 20. I know UCLA's defense is so good, but I just like Gonzaga just to move on and beat UCLA. And it's a tough one. This is probably the best game of the whole 8 matchups. But I like Gonzaga is a team that I have going to the national championship in my original bracket, and I like their odds to get back there. So let's move on back to the Elite Eight, where we have Alabama versus Creighton, and this is a team where this is a situation where I think Alabama has a nice, easy road, and will get back to the final, or not back to the Final Four, get to the Final Four for the first time in program history. Creighton will be not the easiest matchup, right? But the lack of depth for Creighton, more depth for Alabama. Bediako can match up with Kalkbrenner, and Brandon Miller is going to be a hard matchup for Creighton with a Kalumu, a Shyman. I don't think they have the bodies to throw at him, and Alabama just will make shots. Even if they're down, they're going to keep shooting, and eventually they're going to start falling. And Alabama just has that type of potential. I like their road that they can get to the Final Four. I said it when it first came out, Alabama has the easiest region, and they still do. Give me Bama to the Final Four. This one's really tough one. This will be a Saturday game. Tennessee, Kansas State. 2 teams that I thought Kansas State may be able to get there when this bracket came out. I predicted them too, but if you told me before the bracket came out, I would have said neither of these teams are in the Elite Eight. I doubted Tennessee. I picked them losing in the first round to Louisiana, which they almost did. But this is a friendly matchup for Kansas State and Tennessee. I think Tennessee has a defensive capability that can get Marquise Noel and Keontae Johnson out of the game. Tennessee thrives on limiting your best players, while Kansas State is a team that likes to run. So these are 2 teams that, if they can break the other team's usual way of winning, then I think they can be able to dominate this game, right? This could be a one that can come down to the wire, but either team has the capability of blowing them out because of the styles of play they do. I know in a lot of times in the tournament that defense outdoes offense, but I love Kansas State's road here. I think Jerome Tate can do it. In his first year, Kansas State made a Final Four. I've doubted Tennessee a lot this year, so maybe if you're a Tennessee fan watching this, you should be happy. But a lot of the time, I like the offense. I know defense wins a lot, but I think Marquise Noel, they don't have a Zakai Ziegler who can take Marquise Noel out of this game. He controls it, and in his home city, he's a Harlem kid. Will get the Texas and go 2-0 in MSG. Oh, yeah. So we move on to this right side of the bracket. Houston, Texas. Houston versus Texas. Because I always say this so fast, and it's Houston, Texas. Houston versus Texas would be... This would be the matchup I would be most looking forward to. Maybe or UConn Gonzaga. Both these right side games would just be amazing. And I have Houston win this game in my original bracket, so I'm going to pick them to win because I gotta stick with my original bracket, right? I have to do it. UConn, but Texas has. I think Texas is playing better than Houston right now, and this is gonna be a great guard matchup. Jamal Shead and Sasser, Tremont Mark versus the likes of Marcus Carr and Tyrese Hunter and Jabari Rice. That's just a great matchup, man. I really hope both those teams can pull it out and play each other. But if Miami wins, I'll be also happy because I'm an ACC guy. I have a ACC pennant right here, and I've been rooting for Miami all year. Call them the most underrated team early in the season. One of my first episodes, I called Miami the most underrated team in the country. So it's cool that they're here, and if they can get to an Elite Eight, I would feel, validated by that statement that I made a long time ago. The bottom West here. This is a really hard game to predict. I'm gonna pick the Zags because that's who I have in my original bracket. UConn's playing is good enough though. Timmy versus Sanogo would just be a hell of a matchup. I think I like Gonzaga's big second matchup with them though. They also have Brandon Gregg and Eric Reed off the bench. Strother's played like that number 2 guy they wanted. Of course, they got Malachi Smith also off the bench there who can give him spark plug minutes. And UConn's guards maybe we'll give him a slight advantage there, but I think Timmy could get Sanogo in the foul trouble. Of course, they're gonna have a guy like Donovan Clingan to come off the bench. But I gotta go with my original pick. I think UConn and Texas have I could see it being UConn versus Texas in the Final Four there. I'm more confident in my picks on the left side than the right side, but I gotta go stick with my original. And if I'm sticking my original, I would have Alabama, Gonzaga in the national championship, and I'm still gonna have Alabama winning it. And that's not just because I think that's my original pick. I think that's actually gonna happen. I still like Alabama to go win their first national championship and cut down the nets in March. This would actually be in April. So yes, give me Alabama to go win this national championship here. If this is the perfect bracket, man, just I'm putting that out there. If this is perfect, come back to this and be like, wow, Will, you are a genius. Type out, you are a genius. You are a genius. But it probably won't be perfect because guess what? Expect the unexpected in March. And my women's bracket is actually better than my men's bracket, which means that shows that it's really hard to predict games because I have not watched one game of women's college basketball this year. But shout out to Miami because I predicted that upset. I predicted Miami over Indiana just because of the Cavender twins. If you don't know them, if you don't know who they are, search them up. That's all I'm going to say. All right. Peace out. Thanks for watching. Let me go fill out your second chance bracket because guess what? It's a second chance. Peace.